Hello everyone. I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today we are going to read from my novella Pandora. This was published by Cloud Orchid Publishing, as well as I drew the cover art. It is a fantasy novella specifically about a water nymph. I hope y'all enjoy. Chapter 1. Isaac had never had a wife. There had been the occasional dalliance in his boyish years as a young bachelor. However, with only a minor gentleman title and no wealth to speak of, his prospects for a proper marriage had long since fizzled out. He was lonely in his old age, and sought the comfort of a young companion. Though it was common for old bachelors and widowers to take on young wards, he lacked the funds to provide the sumptuous lifestyles these wards typically enjoyed. This left him with few options, each more unsavory than the last. The little town talked of a strange woman, Mirande, who knew great truths. Some even claimed that she could grant wishes, but at a great price. So one day, Isaac gathered the courage to see her. He stood before the rough oak door. It was not painted or varnished like the other town doors, weathered and worn by the seasons and salt air. The unfinished wood smelled wild, and the rough grain tickled his knuckles as he knocked on the bald door, for it did not have a proper brass knocker. The door swung open, and a thin, straight-backed woman with deep wrinkles around her eyes and plumes of white hair filled the doorway. She drew her long fingers around his wrist, prompting his startled body to move. "Please come in." She steered him into a simple, clean sitting room with a small fire in the grate, despite that it was July. "Tea?" She offered him a teapot of simple cracked glaze and rough design, suggesting it was made by hand rather than bought from a shop. "Thank you." Isaac watched the tea pour into the small cup, wondering at the bare walls around him. Atop the mantel was a strange collection of herb bundles, dried flowers, and faded portraits. He squinted, trying to make out the figures, but they were too obscured by the faded paint and layers of dust. "Tell me, what brings you here?" Mirande draped a finger into the tea as she held her cup. "No one comes to me just for afternoon tea." Isaac's eyes were fixed on her cup. "As you know, I have no wife to pour my tea, or children to bring me comfort in my old age. I am very much alone." She nodded. "Yes, I know. It is company and simple affection you seek?" Isaac took a sip of tea. "Yes. No young village maiden on your arm? No gay maypole dame to serve you?" Mirande tilted her head. Isaac shook his head. "I am too old for such foolish fantasies." She set down her tea. "Then I can help you. When you leave my home, go straight to the beach and on an errand before. There you will find the most honest companion a man can hope for." "Thank you," Isaac whispered. "How do you wish for me to repay you?" Mirande stared into his eyes. "Your honest simplicity is enough. It ensures you treat your companion well and put her needs above that of self-indulgent whims. If only more men walked without selfish need of pomp and grandeur, your resolve shall be tested by the treasures your companion has to offer. However, should you lose interest in your companion, she will lose interest in you." Isaac left the old woman's house. He followed her instructions and walked straight down to the ocean shore instead of the market for his supper. The sun hung low upon the water, and the white foam coated the sand. Isaac swiveled his head to see if a maiden sat or strolled in the distance. He saw no one. A small plink sounded, and Isaac looked down. A small scallop shell had bounced off his boot. He was not much of a naturalist, combing the beach for shells and glass, but this one seemed lovelier than most. It was white, save for a few red speckles. At first glance it seemed quite ordinary, but the wholeness of the shell, rather than an empty half-shell, drew Isaac to pluck it from the sand. Both hinged sides of the shell were intact, and Isaac wondered if it held a pearl. He turned it over in his palm, a faint gleam reflecting from the sleek mother of pearl that coated the rim. With the nail of his thumb, he pried the halves apart. But instead of a pearl, he found a soft, pale mass. Isaac poked the mass, and it moved. Tiny arms rose, stretching into the air, and he saw that it was a miniature girl. "Are you the honest companion the woman spoke of?" Isaac stared at her naked form, obscured by her fins and long red hair. She did not answer, but smiled at him. Isaac tucked the girl in the shell into the pocket of his waistcoat and made his way back home. That was chapter 1 of Pandora. I really enjoyed writing this piece as well as creating the cover art for it. As you can see, it features Isaac and little Pandora in a fishbowl. It was published by Cloud Orchid Publishing, and I'm really glad that I was able to finally get this piece out into the world. I do have more novellas on my list, so be on the lookout for those. I hope y'all liked this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.